Well, my name is Janice Wobbenhorst, Wobbenhorst, and this is the second year I've put this nativity show together. You're in the Bethlehem Village room right now. Last year I had a few buildings out there and they said, "What is this?" And I says, "Well, I didn't have time to put the Bethlehem Village together." So this year I did, and made a caravansary, which in today's world we would think of as a fort. But in the desert, they have these stone structures that people can camp in at night for safety. And so that might have been someplace. There was one right outside of Bethlehem. It was probably someplace the three wise men stayed as they traveled across the desert. And then behind you over here is the entire Bethlehem Village. This one happens to be made by Fontanini, the company. It's a 5-inch scale village of what it might have looked like when Jesus was born.
And what else is going on here? Name the dates and times of the events.
Oh, well, the Bethlehem Village and all the nativities are on display every Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, the 3 weekends in December, and then by appointment for groups or even individuals who want to come. I got all the work of setting it up. I figure why not share it with everybody? So happy to share it whenever anyone wants to come. This is the three wise men when they visited King Herod in Jerusalem. And he said, "Tell me when you find the Messiah, the King of the Jews, because I want to know about it." They decided, of course, they weren't going to tell him. But then they went through a caravansary and traveled across the desert. It's only 3 miles from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, but it took them 12 days. At least that's what we traditionally think of, for them to get there, because they didn't want Herod following them. They arrived at the village of Bethlehem, and we have about 70 individual figures and probably 50 houses here that kind of portray what the village might have looked like. And over there under the star is the stable where Jesus was born. And then the angels singing to the shepherds who were watching their sheep out in the story cards for every figure. So if you really wanted to spend time, you could look at this and see that Orion the blacksmith is training Sylvanus, his little son, the knife sharpener, on how to be a blacksmith. And there's stories for all the figures. Adam is at the synagogue in the back. He's the rabbi. Next to him is Simeon. And in the Bible, we all grew up learning that Simeon was the old man who'd been promised he would see the Messiah before he died. And there he is with his hands up in the air because he just saw the Messiah. And there's the inn where, of course, there was no room at the inn, so they had to go to the stable where Jesus was born. There's over 600 of them, and they're from countries all around the world, from different companies that make them. I told somebody every one of us artist is an artistic expression of the person who made that nativity. Some of the companies people recognize, like of course Willow Tree here in the corner. And the one in the center is Homeco, like home parties and people could buy things. And the one on the far end is another Fontanini. That's a 7.5-inch one, which is a bit bigger than the village. So you'd pick them up.
So tell me that again.
Pardon?
So how did this collection come together?
Well, in my 20s, I decided I wanted to have a nativity in every room in my house. So my family started giving to me for Christmas and birthdays and other events via nativity, and then we'd pick them up at garage sales and flea markets, just around and about. And over the last 40 or so years, I've been collecting them, and that's how the collection occurred.
How many pieces do you have?
Well, I have 600 nativities on display. I didn't have room for all of them. I've probably got 100 stuffed under the tables that I didn't have room for. So you'll have Jim Shore, and then the next one is a Lennox brand. A friend that's a rancher came in and says, look at all the long tails. But you'll see there's a hole in the roof. If you look, it was meant to have a candle for a light, so the hole in the roof was to let heat and smoke come out. It's from Germany, and I don't know how old it is, but it's one of my oldest. And it's mostly made of rubber. Well, sure. It is a fundraiser for the swimming pool.
Oh, is that what this is? It's a fundraiser for the swimming pool?
I am doing this nativity show as a fundraiser for the swimming pool. Our little town of Belden has a swimming pool that will be 100 years old in 2023. And it's one of the 3 continuously operating swimming pools in the state of Nebraska. It was the first one in Cedar County. And heck, one old guy from Laurel said, when I was a kid, I rode my bike 6 miles on the gravel road to Belden so I could go swimming. Wow. But it needs some new plumbing and some repairs, and so we're raising money to have money for the pool. Well, nativities are made out of just about everything. That in there that you're looking at is made out of banana leaves. They're made out of stone, resin, paper mache, all kinds of materials. There's one over across the way that's made out of corn husks. I have one that's made out of a coconut from Hawaii. That down there is either an Atlantic or Holland mold, which is where people would go to a ceramic shop and make their own nativity. So that was hand painted by somebody and then fired. And that was their own homemade nativity. Never see them all. There's so much variety. The blue one is from Mexico. The dolls are Ashton Drake dolls, which is a famous doll company, but they made that nativity out of dolls. It's really interesting. Several I'm partial to. This one's pretty special. I call it In the Hands of God, but it comes from Peru, but it came from the store 10,000 Villages in the Haymarket in Lincoln. And 10,000 Villages is a free trade organization where they get things from third world countries to help people out. So it's kind of special that that's where it came from. This iridescent one here is also homemade. Somebody made it at a ceramic shop and then had it fired into those colors. There's a German name for it that I can't pronounce, but this is a German one The candles would put up heat, which would turn the fan and thus turn the... This in here is a retablo. And as I understand it, a retablo is like a single piece of artwork, a sculpture or a painting that usually you find behind an altar in a church. And this gentleman from the Andes in South America makes these retablos, and then, of course, the door is shut to store it.
What's up with that?
Just a cool, neat, moving angel. Couple precious moments ones, but here's the little children's precious moments one. And right above it is the one made by with corn husks. It is the one made from corn husks. This one's rather unique. It's an Anna Lee doll nativity set, and they're all made out of fabric. And you notice that each of the faces is painted. Anna Lee dolls are distinct when you see their painted faces. They got started, I think it's in Massachusetts. Of course, now they're made commercially, but they were originally, original ones were all handmade and hand sewn out of fabric. But aren't those camels neat? It's in pretty rough shape, but it came from the convent in Huntington, Nebraska. And I don't know how long that convent's been closed, but I can't ever remember it. But it came from the convent up there. This is a new one that I got as a Christmas present. It's the Mama Says Nativity, and it's portraying a group of children doing their Christmas pageant. I think it's kind of cute because the little angel here is trying to feed an Oreo cookie to the donkey. But it says that the story goes that Mama's with each of them in their heart, and there's a heart found on each piece. So if you look close enough, every single piece will have a heart somewhere on the piece to remind them that Mama's watching them while they do the nativity. In the 60s.
Say it again.
Many of us remember getting one of those from our Sunday school teacher in the 50s and 60s. They were real popular and were given away as Sunday school gifts. It's from Japan.
Start over.
These are Urasaki dolls from Japan. Out of felt. It's brand new. I just got it this year. It comes from I think from Palestine, where they have handicapped people who make these to earn money. So I had to buy one. This little one is a Gobel. It's from West Germany. And of course, it's porcelain. Gobel, a lot of people think of Hummels. Well, Gobel and Hummel are kind of the same company. Comes completely in its own self-contained little box to make the staple. This one's cool. I don't have any idea where I got it, but if you watch, they all fold. And eventually it would fold flat into its own little carrying case. Really unique. I've never seen anything like it ever. And it's made out of hammered metal, where they take a hammer and... A lot of people remember having a cardboard one like that when they were kids. Just a minute, just a minute. That's a Kurt Adler. That's made by Kurt Adler, and it's animated. I always have one that doesn't have a baby Jesus with it. And I always write the note that traditionally, some families won't put baby Jesus in until Christmas Eve, which is why the baby Jesus isn't there. Now, naturally, some of the reasons the baby Jesus isn't there is because sometimes he got lost when they tried to keep him for Christmas Eve. He never got found again from his safe place. This purple one, I was told was from Mexico. A friend came through the other day and said, well, her brother gave her one like that from when he was in Korea, so I'm not sure where this one comes from. So this year I decided to do a kids zone. So we have 3 nativities here where the kids could just come and play with them. A lot of fun for the little ones. This carved wood one.
Okay. Carved wood.
Everything from the carved wood to the International Silver Company made the silver one. And in between, this is one out of the 70s, made in Hong Kong, out of some kind of early plastic. Concert here yesterday had 85 people at the concert, and I'll bet we had 150 people down here. Now that out there, right there, is made out of bamboo.
So start again.
So I have a seek and find where the kids can come through and look for things. And one of the questions is, did you see the nativity with the buffalo?
The blue one.
The blue one is identical to the white and tan one you saw in the other room. It was made by somebody. Figures are identical, but this one's blue. Would never know it's the same piece that they made at a ceramic shop with 2 entirely different interpretations. One of my other seek and find questions is, did you see the wise men riding a camel or the wise men riding a horse? We don't know what they rode. Traditionally, we always thought about them coming on camels, but if they came from India, they might have come on an elephant. Or if they came from Mongolia, they might have come on a horse. Genghis Khan rode horses. So it's hard telling what they came on. He's not a nativity, so in a way he's not part of the show, and yet he's the creation of it. St. Francis of Assisi is credited with making the first nativity scene in Italy in 1223. He made a live nativity in a cave, and that kind of started the whole nativity scene thing. And to share this, to get people thinking about Christmas in another way. For the most part, older nativities had a lot more pieces. Today, you have the Holy Family and three kings, or the Holy Family and an angel. That might be all a nativity has. In the old ones, you'll see lots of pieces. I pulled a few out here just because some of the odd characters that you had in some of the pieces. A bagpipe player, a man with eggs or potatoes in his hat, just a guy playing a flute. In this case, the camel tamer, the gentleman that would have came with the three wise men. You know, they didn't make their own tents or their own food. They had a whole entourage with them. So a lot of these older nativities had lots of miscellaneous characters we never see today. That little blue one is a homemade one too that somebody made at a ceramic shop.